Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another great episode of Bagged and Boarded with Pauly. Thanks so much for tuning in again. Sorry I didn't get the upload in yesterday for New Comic Day. Don't worry, we'll have that one up at some point, showing off a lot of new stuff I've gotten. I just kind of been busy with work and whatnot. And I've also been busy, hunting for pop figures today because the New York Comic Con pop figures were released today, and I also have just been sifting through a lot of back issues lately, so I will get into a lot of the stuff that I've recently picked up, including the new Comic Day yesterday. But wanted to start back up with the Kick-Assathon with part 2 because it's been a while and I've really wanted to finish this because, like I've said before, Kick-Ass, the trilogy is probably my favorite trilogy of comic books ever created. And like I said, it's just so realistic, so great. Highly recommend you guys go out and read these books because they're great, and they are what is great about comic books, kind of showing that any average Joe can go out and be a superhero. So I'm not going to waste any more time. Going right into Kick-Ass number 2. So Kick-Ass 2 basically picks right up where Kick-Ass right after Hit Girl finishes. Now, like I said in the last episode of Kick-Assathon, it goes Kick-Ass, and then it goes to Hit Girl, the side story talking about Hit Girl's adventures training Dave into a better superhero. Well, Kick-Ass 2 sort of begins with Kick-Ass joining an alliance with other superheroes of his kind of other people that he's inspired. And it's basically called Justice Forever. He joins a lot of different cool, characters. One being here on the cover of Kick-Ass number 1, Colonel Stars and Stripes. Basically, just a bunch of people that want to give back to the community. They were inspired by Kick-Ass, and now they're one giant team. But at the same time, Kick-Ass is still learning from Hit Girl. But at the same time, Hit Girl now wants to live a normal life. Like I said, spoiler alert, again, there's going to be some spoilers. I can't get around them. I'm going to do my best, obviously, but, it's not going to be possible at all fronts to completely avoid all spoilers. But basically, after losing her father, Hit Girl basically says, I want to lead a normal life. She is now living with her mother that she was taken from early on by her father, and she's also living with her new stepfather, whose name is Marcus, who is basically one of the best friends of Big Daddy before he was framed for crimes that he did not commit. So, Hit Girl is basically in this conundrum where she wants to be a superhero, but she also wants to live a normal life. She doesn't want to put her family in danger anymore. But at the same time, Dave continues to tempt her to join Justice Forever because he says, well, we need you. We need you to help fight evil. And boy, is there evil. So the basic antagonist in Kick-Ass number 2 is, and I can't believe I'm saying this, and this is probably one of the silliest names for a comic book villain, but his name is the Motherfucker, and it's basically by Chris D'Amico. I don't think the last names are the same in the film as they are in the comic book. I can't remember. It's, I believe, Genovese or something like that, but I'm just gonna go with D'Amico because it's easier, and that's the name I remember. But basically, Chris D'Amico is the son of the major drug lord in the first Kick-Ass that was killed by Kick-Ass and Hit Girl. And basically, he wants revenge on Kick-Ass for killing his father, despite his father being an evil human being, and Kick-Ass and Hit Girl doing the right thing and ending his tirade on the city. So not only does Kick-Ass now have a team called Justice Forever, the Motherfucker elects to create his own supervillain team. And these people consist of some of the worst people you'll ever know. Basically, a kickboxer that has nothing to lose. He's just in it for the money. A giant Russian woman who is just her name is Mother Russia. She's right there on the cover of number 4, as you can see. And basically, they start to wage a war, a pointless war in my opinion. But again, it's now a war between good and evil, between Justice Forever and Chris D'Amico's evil team. And caught in the midst of it is Hit Girl, who is trying to lead a normal life. But basically, she realizes that she doesn't have a choice. She has to come and help because not only is Kick-Ass once again in over his head, but he knows now he has to clean up the mess that he has created by becoming this superhero, and he now has a responsibility, and so do all of his superhero friends. And basically, there are a lot of lives lost, a lot of innocent lives lost, in the crossfire. Again, I'm not going to give away too many people that die because they're not all necessary to tell you about in this overview, but there are a lot of innocent lives lost, very significant lives lost, and that kind of puts Hit Girl in a position where she knows now that her responsibility is to help fight back and help, get rid of the motherfucker's evil team. And they basically square off in a humongous duel, and in the end, I think things start to come back to life, and both sides kind of realize that, oh my god, what have we been doing? We're just regular people waging a war that isn't real, and we need to realize that we're just normal people. We're in over our heads, and they realize that, what are we doing? And things start to get really real towards the end, and it just becomes extremely crazy. And it's very suspenseful, and you really, really get into it. And, Kick-Ass number 2 leaves you on a huge cliffhanger at the end, and that was really disappointing for me, just because it's not a bad ending. It was just a very, very rough ending for me, just because you can't leave me on a cliffhanger like that. But they make us wait for Kick-Ass 3, making us want more, which is a good thing, because Kick-Ass 3 comes in perfectly after and cleans up the story and ends things on a good note. But yeah, overall, Kick-Ass 2 is very brutal. It's easily way more brutal than the first book, and it becomes a lot more, it becomes even more crazy, where the actions of these characters are starting to really hurt those around them, and the realism of it has just become just so brutal. Now, Kick-Ass 2, I think, is a little inferior to the first one, obviously just because Kick-Ass number 1 changed my life of reading comics for the better, but I definitely still think that it's very good. It's definitely close. If I had to, I give Kick-Ass number 1 a 10 out of 10, 7 days out of the week, but I would probably give Kick-Ass number 2 a solid 9 out of 10, no doubt about it. But it definitely lacks that, sense of realism. There are a lot of points of realism, like basically how, if you decided to do this in real life, your actions are going to affect those around you. It's not just a basic, you do something to this person and they do something back. No, they will go after, other people, and other people will be caught in the crossfire, and you realize that quickly. And it's not like in a comic book where you get punched in the face and you can just keep going. When you get punched in the face, it hurts. And when you get pushed off a building and you fall, it hurts. And, when you get, punched, you get hit with batons with, nails in them, it's going to hurt. You're going to bleed. And, it definitely is more brutal. But again, it kind of loses you on that front, because some of the characters can take a lot more of a beating than they probably should. But in the end, it's still a fantastic book, and I still love it. I highly recommend it. You definitely need to read it if you are a fan of the first one. It's very gripping, very chilling, and very suspenseful. But, of course, no, this review would not be complete if I did not talk about the film, Kick-Ass number 2. They followed up on the sequel. It's a basic sequel to their first film, and it's definitely not as good as the first film. Like I said before, I stick to my guns when I say that Kick-Ass number 1, that film, is probably the best comic book adaptation to film ever created, in my opinion. I've never seen something so well done in my life. But Kick-Ass 2 was definitely not as great. It's still very good, and again, it's still very chilling and very suspenseful, but you can definitely tell they tried a different approach to the story, and like I said, they tied it all together, so it doesn't seem like Kick-Ass 3 is ever going to be a film, just because of the way they ended. Kick-Ass 2 was much different from how they ended the book. But I was okay with it. Like I said, I thought it was still a pretty good film. It definitely still did a good job of representing what the second book was about. The characters are well represented. I thought they cast the characters perfectly. Colonel Stars and Stripes, who is a huge character in Justice Forever. He's basically the leader of this pack, because he's one of the ones with more formal training. He was a former, mafia guy who did hits for the mob a long time back, and now he feels he needs to do right by himself and others by becoming the leader of Justice Forever. But Jim Carrey plays the part of Colonel Stars and Stripes, and I would have never thought Jim Carrey could do it, because I've always thought of Jim Carrey as this goofy guy, from The Mask, Ace Ventura, things like that. But he played this role perfectly. He brought a very good spin on the character that I never thought would work, but he's still also very serious, and I just loved him. He was perfect for the part. I gotta hand it to casting Jim Carrey. He was perfect as Colonel Stars and Stripes. But overall, I thought the film was very good. But overall, it definitely wasn't as good as the first one. The second one's never as good as the first, but it's still a very good book. It definitely follows up on it well. Bringing the spin on the whole superhero team facing a superhero team. It's different from the first. It's got a whole new plot, which I like. It's not just a basic rehash of the first one where it's just what would happen if a kid tried to be a superhero. But it's a definite different story, new characters, new plot, new gore. It's just a great story. It's totally different, and I highly recommend it. So overall, that's gonna do it for the second part of my Kick-Assathon. Like I said, just overall looking at some of my, let me see if I have any. Yeah, so basically, Eisenhower is Colonel Stars and Stripes' dog, his loyal companion, helping fight crime through biting crotches, and they do a good job of representing that in the film. But yeah, not a whole lot of variant covers on this one, but yeah, that was the only one. But yeah, overall, again, the art style is fantastic. Again, Mark Millar, and John Romita Jr. came back for this story. They did a great job of continuing with their same art style, same type of storytelling, and I highly recommend you read this if you're a fan of the first one. And yeah, so I'm going to try and get the third part of this Kick-Assathon up because I want to wrap it up so that you guys kind of know the basic plot line of it, so that you guys are inspired to go out and read these books. I highly recommend them, and yes, so thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to bag and board your comics, and don't forget to go read a comic book today. Go out, buy one, go support your local comic book store, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Thank you for watching.